I want to talk about a big-time commit that Texas got yesterday, and that is Ryan Wingo. 5-star wide receiver out of St. Louis, Missouri, 6'1.5", 210 pounds. So pretty big frame there, but dude can move 10'6", 100 meters. We love that he's got that ability to take the top off the defense, but also really good after the catch, really good in space, has ability to make guys miss. We got to talk to him at the On3 NIL Elite Series event in Nashville. We got to sit down and do a quick interview with him. And I'll say this, like getting to sit down with Ryan, man, the way he carries himself, dude is just a pro already in high school. Like on time to everything going on with the event, handled himself tremendous in the interview, says all the right things, carries himself like a professional would. So Texas is getting a stud in that sense and a stud on the field. But let's take a macro look at this thing because we are a college football show. They got a big-time commit in Ryan Wingo, who's going to be a weapon for them. And I think that's really where the emphasis has to lie within this conversation around his commitment. This, to me, is another step in ensuring that the Steve Sarkisian offense will have the weapons that he wants and needs to operate his offense at a dangerous level. Because think about Steve Sarkisian, the way that he runs things. Whenever he has multiple playmakers on the outside, Texas is going to be really good. And that kind of sounds simplistic, but I mean, by nature of how he runs this thing, anytime he has multiple go-to guys, as a defense, you don't have enough resources to distribute across the board to give the proper attention to different weapons. This year is a perfect example. Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell. Xavier Worthy's a really good player, but when you add Adonai Mitchell into the mix and you sprinkle in Jatavian Sanders, that was the difference against Texas. Xavier Worthy, we had prize picks on him. He had a 5.5 catch number going into that game. We took the more. He had 5 catches at half. We're like, all right, baby, here we go. One more catch, Xavier. That more is going to hit. Alabama did a great job taking him away because they're like, we're tired of this dude catching the football on us. So what did Texas do? Adonai Mitchell, deep, was the difference maker, was the dagger multiple times in that second half. I think Ryan Wingo joining that receiving core with the Jonte Cook and the rest of the young talent they're going to have in that room, like, I'm excited for what they're going to do. Because I think, like I said, the number, the quantity, and the quality of weapons they have now is going to really put defenses in conflict and give you a problem taking away that potent attack from Texas. Now, I would also say this. Whenever Texas does well on the recruiting trail, you hear a lot of people say, well, this isn't new for Texas. Texas has always had talent. It's a matter of can they do anything with it? A lot of guys go to Texas, never hear from them again. Yeah, maybe so in the past. I think that's old Texas. I think this is new Texas. Texas right now is a top 10 team in the On3 industry team recruiting rankings, and it just kind of feels different around Texas. And that kind of sounds funny to say because it's abstract and there's not a ton of like validity to just saying it feels different. But when you look at what they've done on the field, I think you can point to that and say that is different. I think what Steve Sarkisian has done there has provided something different to buy into if I'm on the recruiting trail. And I don't doubt they're well-resourced when it comes to the NIL landscape. Newsflash, NIL is now a part of college football recruiting. It is, period, mic drop, the end. If you don't think it is, you're kidding yourself. I'm not talking about that specific to this recruitment, but you got a lot of people saying, well, Texas is just buying players. I think that's kind of salty fans saying salty things. But going back to my original point, there is a proof of concept now in Austin that gives recruits something to buy into, both on the field by nature of how they're performing. The win over Alabama is like an album cover kind of win that you can go and put on the recruiting trail to kids and say, hey, come be a part of this as we get to the SEC next year. That's the first. But I think you also have proof of concept in development. And I would imagine that was always the negative pitch against Texas. Hey, you got a lot of stars next to your name. You got a lot of ability. There have been a lot of guys with ability that have gone to Austin and never been heard from again. You sure you want to do that? You sure you want to go to Texas and risk it that way? I don't think that's the same conversation now with Steve Sarkisian. One, because of his track record at different schools. Talk about Devontae Smith and what he's doing in the league right now. Jalen Waddle when he was there, like all that he did at Alabama and the hand he had in getting those guys involved. But also at Texas right now. Like Adonai Mitchell, he was good at Georgia. I think he's taken his game to a new level at Texas by nature of what they've asked him to do in that offense. Xavier Worthy, I think he's got a very legitimate chance to be selected early in the NFL draft. Now, I'm not a draft guy, but you would have to imagine there's a lot of NFL teams that could use Xavier Worthy. Jatavian Sanders, he's balling right now. Like, he's probably going to be a guy that gets some NFL looks when it's time for him to roll. All this to say, you can win games at Texas, but you can get developed, in my opinion. And I think Ryan Wingo sees that, and I have to imagine that was a factor in him choosing to be a Longhorn. Now, you also have to imagine the Arch Manning effect, probably some ripples here being sent throughout the college football landscape as he's in line, you would imagine, to be the guy at some point in time in Austin. Don't think that hurt things with landing a wide receiver like Ryan Wingo. I think the strong finish on the field now for Texas only builds security for kids picking Texas. And what I mean by that is I think it's similar to Colorado in the way they provided proof of concept. There's this question of, well, am I going to actually get the experience I think I can get when I go to Texas or when I go to Colorado? And it's different at Colorado than it is at Texas because Colorado has much less data to work with. But when you talk about Texas, again, there's this feeling, will I get developed? Will we win games? Is this a flash in the pan? Is this a one-year thing? And the better Texas does going forward now, especially without Quinn Ewers, you can look back at the organization, look back at the system and say, hey, this is for real. This is, yes, a personnel-driven operation, but at the end of the day, this is a organization-driven operation to the same extent. Like, personnel is going to change here, but the system we have in place with how we do things with our standards, we're going to be able to be successful regardless of who's in uniform for us. Now, we need you to come be a part of it, but I think this is something that moves that operation forward. So from a macro level, I think there's things to take away if you're a Texas fan. From an in-the-weeds perspective, Ryan Wingo is a dude. I expect him to be a dude when he gets to Austin. Big-time get for them, landing him out of St. Louis, Missouri, beating out Mizzou for him. Texas adding another elite playmaker of the 5-star caliber to their weaponry. When he gets on campus, Steve Sarkisian has another guy to throw the football to. The Hard Count is brought to y'all by our friends at Game Time. Now, I want to talk about a specific instance for me where I was looking for tickets. We have a chance to go and watch big-time college football game. I won't give you teams. It was in the Big 12 Conference, and it was a game of very high importance. And at this point in time, I was in college. And so at this point in time, there are student tickets that are going to be given out. Y'all, student tickets went like that. Like, you could be in the queue for however long you wanted. Very, very few people got student tickets to this game. So what I wish we had had is Game Time. Because if I had Game Time, man, I wouldn't have worried about student tickets. Because you know why? I would have known that I was going to get the best price for whatever tickets were out there for this specific game. I wouldn't have had to have the anxiety, wouldn't have had to stress. I would have known Game Time would have had me covered just like they have y'all covered. Game Time is phenomenal in the sense that you can wait till the very last minute to get your tickets. Like, I could have woken up on that Saturday morning and said, okay, the stadium's about an hour away. I can buy tickets with like 2 taps of my finger here on this app. I'm going to be able to get this done. So no worries about that. Game Time would have had me covered. Also, again, I would have known I'm not spending money in a meaningless way. I would have known that Game Time is the best, like I said, best prices guaranteed. And if I had found tickets in the same section and row for like somehow a lesser price on another platform, Game Time would have had a Game Time guarantee built in there and said, you know what, we'll credit you 110% of the difference, JD. That's how much we care about you and care about you watching this football game. So last thing I'll say, Game Time does a great job in the sense that they make sure you can see the view before you buy. Like, you're not going to show up to a game and realize that you're actually sitting right behind a concrete wall so you can't see 3/4 of the field when you're watching. Game Time's got you covered. So here's what I want us to do. Download the Game Time app, take the guesswork out of buying tickets, create an account. If you use code HARDCOUNT, you get $20 off your first purchase, okay? So terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code HARDCOUNT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Don't be on the outside looking in. Don't be the guy where all your friends go to the game and they say, hey, why didn't you go? I didn't have tickets. Game Time, no excuses. They got us covered. They got y'all covered. We appreciate them tremendously for having us covered. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.